That ever-growing travel wish list might be putting some pressure on your pocket, but there are plenty of destinations where you'll get more bang for your buck. If you're looking for some affordable destinations to put on your travel list, we have got some great suggestions for you. When you want to travel more while spending less, your most important decision is where to go. Realizing just how far your dollars, euros, or pounds can go in cheaper countries can be eye-opening. Malaysia. Being one of the most economically developed Southeast Asian countries, Malaysia is often perceived as expensive. You will end up meeting lots of locals more able to communicate and find more common ground with them, and have so much fun exploring Cameron Highlands, the jungles of Borneo, and the gorgeous islands. The cherry on top, they are all affordable. An overnight bus from Kuala Lumpur to the Perhentian Islands costs as little as $8. There are so many interesting local neighborhoods and markets that are free to explore. And finally, the Malaysian cuisine is like no other. You can find food from just about any culture, and it's so cheap and delicious, but not necessarily healthy. Malaysia is also one of the cheapest places in the world to get a PADI scuba diving certificate. The one thing that could make Malaysia expensive to travel in is alcohol, which is highly taxed. However, if you don't plan on drinking every night, that will not be an issue. Meals cost $5 to $10 per day. Some hostels provide breakfast. Accommodation can be estimated to be between $5 and $15 per night in a hostel, whereas $3 to $5 for a full day of train and bus rides, or $8 to $15 for an overnight intercity bus ride. Colombia. Colombia is an amazing country to travel to. Everyone thinks Colombia is dangerous. They've heard about Pablo Escobar. They've heard about drug cartels. They've seen Narcos on Netflix and think they know what Colombia is like today. And no, these days it's luckily nothing at all like Netflix's Narcos, a show that is set over 50 years ago. Within Colombia, you will find a little bit of everything representing South America, including both the Pacific and the Atlantic coasts, the epic Amazon rainforest, and the start of the Andes mountain range. Add to this the buzzing cities of Medellin and Bogota, and the warmth of the Colombians and their vibrant culture, and you've got one of the best budget-friendly travel destinations in the Americas. Whether you like to stay in hostels or prefer local guest houses, you'll find there is a solid backpacker circuit in Colombia. It's also pretty easy to do on a budget, while Colombia offers some great value for money. The cities of Medellin and Bogota are among the most booming and cosmopolitan on the continent, filled with street art, salsa dance, and colorful culture. While it's fascinating to learn about the often dark history of Colombia, you'll be equally intrigued by life there today. South Korea. South Korea is a country not talked about enough. Whereas it is one of the greatest undiscovered travel destinations in the world, its prices rival that of Southeast Asia. It's high-tech, the food is mind-blowingly delicious and eclectic. The countryside is jaw-droppingly beautiful, and the nightlife is out of this world. It is one of the most underrated travel destinations out there, with the South Korean currency at 1,100 won per USD 1, and almost everything costing only a few thousand won. It's hard to bust your budget here. You can go for Korean barbecue complete with drinks and spend $8. You can pick up bottles of beer in 7-Eleven for less than $1. Trains are cheap, everything here is cheap, plus it's fun and different. Nepal. Nepal is a very cheap country to travel through, with most food, accommodation, and transport running in just a few dollars if you eat, sleep, and travel using local options. You can get cheap and delicious home-cooked meals in local-run small cafes though. Be very mindful when you book your accommodation online, as big corporations have taken over local homestays and turned them into boutique hotels and resorts. Meals are $5 to $10 per day. Some hostels provide breakfast. Accommodation is $5 to $10 per night in a local guest house. Transportation is $10 to $15 per person for a private car and a driver split between 4 people, or a local bus ride between cities. Yes, it is that cheap. If you end up trekking, as long as you do so independently and avoid Mount Everest itself, which costs tens of thousands of dollars, you can travel for as cheap as $10 per day on food and accommodation at the lower elevations, and closer to USD 20 at higher elevations on popular routes like the Annapurna circuit. Greece. Greece has been having a tough time economically in recent years. It finally started trading on financial markets in mid-2018 after years of bailouts. But for many, making ends meet day to day is still hard. If anything, the financial situation is all but more reason to travel here and to support the local people. Prices are still cheaper than they once were, so you might be able to squeeze an extra Greek island or one of the beautiful beaches into your itinerary. Pay by credit card for whatever you can in advance, but take enough cash with you for your travels, and you're pretty much guaranteed an amazing trip. Romania. Romania is, oddly, a country that some people seem to have preconceptions about. Only when they visit does the penny drop that this country is just incredible. And no, Romania has nothing to do with gypsies who are entirely unrelated to Romanians. Consider the spectacular Transylvania region with its cute medieval towns, ancient fortified churches, and mighty Carpathian mountain range. Just like the Dracula it inspired, Transylvania has a lot for you to sink your teeth in. You can easily get by on a backpacker budget for about $30 to $40 a day in Romania. If you're on more of a holiday, you can find a cute B&B starting at $30 per night. Don't miss out on this European travel secret. Bosnia. Most people still associate Bosnia mainly with the war that took place there. Checks the calendar. An entire 27 years ago. But this Balkan country has gotten back on its feet and has so much to show you if you give it a chance. A backpacker budget is $30 a day, whereas mid-range budget is $50 a day. The medieval town of Mostar is a real highlight. Its iconic bridge once connecting trade routes going as far as Venice and Constantinople. The capital, Sarajevo, remains under-touristed despite its genuine warmth, interesting architecture, and wonderful historic quarter. Unlike neighboring Croatia, Bosnia Herzegovina remains delightfully budget-friendly, making it all the easier to decide to visit it. Taiwan. Home to amazing national parks that boast beaches, mountains, valleys, and even dormant volcanoes. Taiwan has such natural beauty that several major film productions such as Silence and Life of Pi took advantage of its scenery. And you can have this wonderful experience at a very affordable price. For less than $2, you get a plate of fragrant rice with pork or chicken on top, a large deep-fried chicken chop, or a bowl of delicious vermicelli with oysters. Food in Taiwan is delicious and ridiculously cheap. If you're a foodie on a budget, you know where to go, in cities like Taipei and Tainan. You can register for their city bikes, which cost less than 50 cents per hour per ride and for free for the first 30 minutes. This means you can get around the city all day without spending money on transportation at all. Meals cost $5 to $10 per day. Some hostels provide breakfast. Accommodation is usually $10 to $20 per night in a hostel, and transportation $0 to $3 for a full day of the bike, bus, and train rides, or $20 to $40 for an HSR ride between cities. That said, high-end food and clothing prices in Taiwan can sometimes be at the US level. Intercity traveling is either expensive with the high-speed rail HSR, or time-consuming with the slightly cheaper options. Internet is also not as cheap as in the countries listed earlier. So which one of these countries do you like the most? Let us know in the comments section. See you all in the next video.